I'm so excited. Today's the day I take on the champion. I've got my team with me, looking healthy, looking strong. We're gonna win it today, guys. We're gonna win it. Zali, Mob, Drippy, Roxy, Messi. We're gonna win this one. Got my badges. Mom, even though most people would say the fighting types are all the same, I think they're unique. Thank you, Mother. Thank you for believing in me, making me some great breakfast. I'm very excited. Humble boy from South Wyndon, going to the Pokemon League. I can't wait, lady. You know, I'm about to become champion, lady. The woman is playing a song. Do you want to donate 1,000? Hell, Nizzy. I'm good. I'm broke right now, but I'm about to become the champ. Let's head to the O2. Slow it down. Gotta keep my aura. You know what I mean? Don't want to lose any aura. I'm about to be even more famous. Let's go. O2 Arena. Let's run it. Let's go straight to the pitch. I just gotta believe in myself, and I gotta believe in my team. Ready for your next battle? I was born ready. Stay ready. Ain't gotta get ready, my guy. Let's go. Okay. Calm down the nerves. Everyone's out there. Massive audience. Let's give them a show. Let's go. It's your boy Geppetto, and the crowd goes wild. Leon don't know what he's got coming to him. Thank you, everybody. Let's run it. My matches are always sold out, but I've never seen a crowd like this. Everyone knows what you did for us this week, Geppetto. They know you're the one who caught Eternus and saved the future of the Galar region, a real hero who battled alongside the legendary Pokemon Zacian and Zazamenta. Couldn't have dreamed of a better challenger to help increase my winning streak. Now that I've seen just kind of what strength you possess as the greatest of challengers, crushing you in the dirt will show everyone just how strong their champion truly is. Come on, Geppetto, let's make this a final match that will go down in Galar's history. No, a match that will change Galar forever. We're gonna have an absolutely champion time. Let's run it, bro. You're challenged by rival Leon. Gotta snap a quick pic. Man sent out his Aegis, okay, level 65. Go Zali, level 65, okay. You can see the crowd. You can see the Dynamax energy. And now I'm actually gonna stop the bit and just talk about what it is that you guys are watching. So this is Pokemon Shield GBA. It's called Pokemon Sword and Shield GBA, and it is both, to be fair. So Pokemon Sword and Shield GBA. It's just that my playthrough kind of leaned a bit more towards Shield, but for you guys, if you want to make it more of a Sword experience, as far as I can tell, this ROM hack has everything that both versions has available in one game. And this is a ROM hack of Pokemon Fire Red, where they've remastered or redesigned or modded the entire game and turned it literally into a Game Boy Advance version of Pokemon Sword and Shield. The entire game, plus the DLC. This is very impressive if you're at all interested in ROM hacks, or if you've not been able to play Sword and Shield like me and you just want to give it a go. Well, this is, I think, the best way to do it. I mean, as you can see by the title, I think this might be the best way to do it. I mean, for one, this is a free game, so already that's like infinite points to the GBA version. Another thing, this game is incredible. I'd argue that Pokemon Sword and Shield were designed, even though they're 3D games on the Switch, they were designed like they were still Game Boy Advance games. They were designed with the same route layout that you would expect to get from the GBA games, which means that the routes and the paths and the general map in this Game Boy Advance game is functionally the exact same as the map you get in the Switch version of this game. It's incredible how faithful this game is to the Switch version, to the point where it just feels like if you could imagine that Pokemon Sword and Shield originally came out on the Game Boy Advance and they made a remake for the Switch, which is the Sword and Shield that came out officially. That's what it feels like. So if you're someone who prefers 2D sprites, this is Seismitoad, which is a brand new Pokemon introduced in Sword and Shield. It's never had a 2D sprite, and yet they've created a 2D sprite for this Pokemon, and it looks incredible. So if you prefer these sprites in Pokemon games over the 3D models, which many people prefer the sprites, me personally, I honestly haven't played enough 3D Pokemon games to really have a strong opinion, but based on videos and footage I've seen, I do love both, and it is hard for me to pick. I kind of can go either way, to be honest. I love both. I don't know that I have a strict preference, but since I do love the 2D sprites, seeing some of these 3D characters given these amazing 2D sprites, it hits, man, it hits. And you have every single Pokemon that's in the Sword and Shield games available in this game. Everything. I mean, it'd be easier to think of what the Switch version has that the GBA version doesn't. For example, the GBA version doesn't have any, to my knowledge, any like network capability. I know that you can play online on the Switch version. I don't think you can do that on the GBA version, understandably, but maybe you can. I don't know. I don't think that's that big a deal, but you do miss out on that. There is a wild area in the GBA version, just like in the Switch version. Functionally, it's kind of like a massive Viridian forest, but like, you know, it's designed to match the look and feel of the wild area in the Switch version of the game. And you can go explore it and catch all sorts of Pokemon. You can get the bike that floats on the water in this game. Everything. I mean, what's missing? I guess there's no character customization. That's one thing that this game is unfortunately missing. I know Sword and Shield had, I think, decent character customization. This game also doesn't have the Pokemon centers that look like pubs. Whilst they do look cool in the GBA game, they don't have that exact same style, but they are located in the same places. You can see here clearly what the stadiums look like and how they've adapted it, and I think that is really cool. Of course, as is the case with a lot of GBA games, you have to kind of use your imagination. For example, when it comes to Dynamaxing, which you can see they've created like a fan-made sprite for Dynamax Charizard, and it looks incredibly accurate and amazing in my opinion. So do these attacks. I think they look insanely cool and feel epic, and you do have to use a bit of your imagination a bit more when it comes to this because it's not 3D like real life. But it's fine. Like, I can understand that we're in a stadium and that's the crowd and the audience. The music in the GBA game, unfortunately, is not as good as the music in the Switch version. The Switch version has incredible music. The GBA version has great music, but it's kind of the standard Pokemon music that you're used to, but it's still incredible. But the Switch games, as I understand it, had amazing, new music for that game. So don't get me wrong. If you want to pay for that full experience and you want the 3D and you want everything the game has to offer, then you can of course go ahead and get the Switch version. But if you've maybe already played the Switch version, or you just can't play the Switch version, or you just prefer the Game Boy Advance style, the DS style, this is more Game Boy Advance and DS style, because despite being a Fire Red GBA ROM hack, they always take loads from the DS games. This game is very modern, it has a lot of modern features. It feels like you're playing a new Pokemon game. It has, again, pretty much every feature that Sword and Shield has. If you even look at the way the text is presented, it's, no borders, like when it says the opposing Charizard use whatever attack, just like in the official games. The UI in the Switch game I do think is cooler, but there's amazing modern looking menus in this game. You can see the health bars look really cool. So I highly recommend this game. Again, being how it's just available for you to play, it's hard not to recommend. I think the team behind this game has done an incredible job, and this was my main playthrough of Galar. I only played a little bit of the Switch version, but I watched a playthrough of the entire Switch version, and I quite like these games. I know these are, sometimes people say that Sword and Shield are the worst Pokemon games, but as you can probably tell by my accent, I am a bit biased, First Pokemon game I ever played was Pokemon Diamond on my Nintendo DS Lite. And playing through Sinnoh was incredible, but when I learned that Sinnoh was based on a real-life place, Japan, it made me wonder how cool it would be if one day they did a Pokemon game where I could, go to my hometown in real life, London, and how cool it would be to do a Pokemon game based on the UK. And at this point, they'd only done Pokemon games based on Japan, but I think they'd announced they were going to do Unova, and that was going to be based on New York, which really or the state of New York rather, which really inspired my dreams of one day being able to play a Pokemon game running through a version of London, where I'm from, a version of the UK. Then they went from New York to France and France is like, oh, you just went next door, but you're still not quite the UK. But thankfully, I'm grateful that for Sword and Shield, they did base the Galar region on Great Britain, where I'm from, and it's like, 10-year-old me couldn't be happier to see Sword and Shield's existence. I think calling the games Sword and Shield is genius. Swords and shields and knights and medieval and kings and queens and royalty, that's all very much Great Britain energy. So Sword and Shield makes sense. I do think the two legendaries don't look that cool, personally, especially the shield one looks really lame. And I think the dog with a sword in its mouth is just kind of silly. I don't know, like Aegis is a way cooler looking Pokemon, you know, and it's not a legendary. That being said, Zacian being so powerful, I think was a really nice touch, you know. Shout out the Great Britain, not the little one. But anyway, I think the game, being that I'm from the UK and that I've traveled to a lot of the places that the game's based on, you know, just a quick rundown. The game starts you off in what should be the north, but in the game it's the south, since you're working your way up to the top. And you start off in like farm villages and farm countryside. And I went university to like up north, and yeah, I went university in a town that was surrounded by farms and countryside, and we got a lot of that here in the UK. So it's really cool that the game starts you off in what's like humble beginnings with gym leaders like Milo. Him being a farmer grass type, I think is genius. Then you go to places like Hilbury, which is based on Liverpool, and we have a lot of like obviously water. You know, we're a small island surrounded by water, so yeah, showing love to Liverpool. And Nessa's got a sick design, and it was a really tough gym fight for me, like really tough. But I think that that's really cool that they you know, I think they adapted some of the multiculturalism found in the UK as well, with the gym leaders being from different places. Having a black girl is cool. We do have some of those here in the UK. I always feel like Rayhan in Hammerlock, which I feel like is meant to be Birmingham, which I've been to, and I see the vibes. I always feel like he's meant to be Asian, and we do have a lot of Asians here in the UK, so that is cool. He was a really, you know, fun boss fight. And in general, I think the game just does a good, you know, I think that is the Pokemon World version of Great Britain. You know, making the gym challenge like the football league we have here was genius. Having the Pokemon fight on what's essentially a football pitch is so cool, and like genius. Honestly, I think it's a really great way to adapt it. We do love our football. There are football hooligans, and it is a big deal. So it's really cool. Like that is the perfect way, I think, to adapt it. I hope we get to see the Galar region again. I personally don't really play Pokemon games for the plot. Like I don't typically play them to save the world. I don't care about saving the world. I don't want to save the world and be forced to catch a legendary and, you know, I'm the hero, the chosen one, I'm the hero of time, Legend of Zelda. Like I'm not trying to do all that. I just want to enter the sport, enter the gym challenge, enter the Pokemon League, and try to become champion. It's the reason why I love the Kanto games, because they kind of just more so focus on you becoming champion. It's the reason why I have appreciation for the Johto games, which are similar. Story is not as much, and you're just trying to become champion mostly. But you know, the third game with the third gen with Hoenn and Nat, and then even my first generation I played Sinnoh, I think they really did try push on the whole you gotta save the world. But my favorite aspect of Diamond and Pearl, the first Pokemon games I played, was always the gym challenge. And I can do without the evil team and the saving the planet. I could honestly do without it. And as I've been replaying through all the different Pokemon regions, I've been focusing on versions of the games which do not force you to save the world. And Sword and Shield, like every single other Pokemon game for the past however long, it does force you to save the world, and it does force you to catch a legendary. That being said, it's minimal compared to the other games. Compared to a game like Sun and Moon, which has loads of cutscenes, loads of story, and loads of saving the world, like I'm not really trying to do all that personally. I just want to do the gym challenge, and I love that Sword and Shield. Some people would say it barely had a story, or it had no story, but I actually quite prefer that. I'm quite liking Pokemon games with no story. I would dream that in the future Pokemon games can function where it's almost like a quest system, and it's up to you if you want to do the main campaign or not. You kind of don't have to, you know, kind of like an MMO almost, but single player. I think that'd be really cool, because I don't want to have to save the world. I love that Scarlet and Violet had multiple stories, none of which to my knowledge were really saving the world, but I wouldn't be surprised if one was. But man, I just don't want to do all that. No evil team, no saving the world, and I only catch the legendary if I can be bothered to go out and find it, not because I'm forced to catch it to save the planet. Like, whatever. Every time it's the same. Evil team wants to like use a legendary's power for nefarious stuff, so we have to catch it, whatever. Like, I've done it enough times. I love that Sword and Shield barely had a story and just focused on the gym challenge as its main focus. You go from town to town, getting your badges, bit of freedom to Actually, I don't know if Sword and Shield had any freedom in terms of order for gyms. I do prefer when the game lets you go to the gyms in any order or as much freedom as possible. But regardless, I quite liked that Sword and Shield focused on the gym challenge and the gym challenge only. I had a lot of fun playing through this game, and I really enjoyed the Pokemon that they introduced in this region. The Pokédex is really cool. Given that I'm from the UK, I think it's very fitting to have like Scovet. We have a lot of Squirrels here. I think, Yampa being a Corgi is obviously genius, and I love my Boltund. I also think that Nickit is a genius Pokemon because, Feeble, genius. We have loads of orange foxes. If I was to go outside my house, my Route 1, if you will, the Pokemon I would see would be, and I even tested this, I went outside and I looked, it would be a bunch of orange foxes like Nickit. That would be like the first animal / Pokemon that I'd encounter and could catch, because there's just loads of wild ones everywhere. As soon as I go out my front door, Nickits everywhere. You obviously got your birds. I forget what the regional bird is, but we got our birds, loads of different types of birds. A lot of Pidgeys, I'd say, but we have a lot of different types of birds everywhere. Like, that's the next one you'd see. Small ones, big ones, loads of different species of birds in London, let alone in the UK in general. You're probably going to see a squirrel, so like a Scovet. And yeah, a lot of people have cats and dogs, so you're going to see loads of those, as well as possibly a stray, but less likely for a cat and dog. So yeah, those are, and then bugs and stuff, but yeah, you get the gist. I think the Pokédex did a great job at capturing, the kind of animals that we encounter here. I think that places like, I'm going to forget the names now, but like the little Mushroom Kingdom place you can go to and some of the other cities, I think are really fun and really cool in their design, and it's really cool. Like I said, Birmingham is meant, like Hammerlock is meant to be like Birmingham, and I see it. Motorstoke is Manchester, and I've been to Manchester a bunch of times, and it's cool. It's cool the way that the game's adapted. And of course, I have to speak on Windon being based on my actual hometown, and I will say that whilst like every other region in this game, every other part of the map in this game, I think looks really a lot like what it's supposed to be based on. Like the Hilbury in the GBA game looks just like the Hilbury in the Switch game. But the Windon is the one letdown. It's the big city at the end of the game. And whilst it does look cool in the GBA game, I don't think it looks anything like the Switch version. And it also looks nothing like Windon in real life. I don't know what they could have done, but I wish they'd done more to make it match. Like you don't have any Piccadilly Circus vibes of the billboards. You don't have any, it's not even a statue. Why is there not even a statue in what's supposed to be Leicester Square when there's clearly a statue in the Switch version? Like, I see they were going for the roundabout, but I think they just could have done a bit more. But the O2 Arena gym stadium thing looks cool. All the gyms look really cool. This is the Isle of Armor DLC, just to show that the game really does have everything. It treats the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra as post-game. I believe you do the Isle of Armor post-game first, then you'll do the Crown Tundra post-game. I haven't quite got there yet, but I know it's in the game. This game was originally created in Spanish, but it's all translated. But when you get really far into the post-game, you might see some Spanish. So keep that in mind if you've got to get a Google Translator. But like I'd probably say 90% of this game, and it's been fully English, fully perfect. I've noticed no glitches, no bugs, no issues. And I highly recommend people playing this game. I think Pokemon Sword and Shield were great. 8 out of 10. I appreciate people felt like it could have been more open world, but if you treat it like it was a GBA game first, then it works perfectly fine. I think again, because the route layout fits with the Game Boy Advance style, it means that when I'm playing through it on the Game Boy Advance, it feels fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, even on the Game Boy Advance, some of those routes felt quite stupid. I don't know, you just run in a straight line from one point to the next, and it's a bit pretty bad. But it's the exact same in the Switch version, so it's not even like the GBA version turned it down. It's the exact same. It's the exact same map, exact same story, exact same dialogue, exact same Pokemon, exact same. Like, I will say this game is a lot more difficult than the Switch version. I shouldn't say no, it's not Radical Red, like hardest Nuzlocke ever difficulty. If I beat the game, but it can get quite difficult. For some very strange reason, the economy in this game is messed up, and everything is so expensive. You also don't make much money from each gym, like from each Pokemon battle. You don't make much money, and you lose loads of money. I'd say that's the single reason why the game is so ridiculously difficult. It's because having items and potions is just so expensive. I was like champion still broke. Like, it's insane how hard it is to keep money in that game. So that does make it difficult, but other than that, the actual Pokemon levels are only a couple, like maybe 1 or 2 levels stronger than in the Switch game. But like everyone had, for some reason this game does turn up the difficulty a little bit. That could be probably a good thing for most people. They say that the original Sword and Shield games on the Switch are way too easy. You can just press A the entire time. Can't do that with this GBA version. This game will mess you up if you're wrong, if you're just not paying attention, if you're not playing well. Like I struggled a lot with like Nessa, having picked the fire starter. I struggled a lot with a couple of them fights, man. I'll be honest. Like even Leon took a couple goes, whereas everyone else playing the Switch version seemed to beat him first time. So if you want a more challenging game, then I definitely recommend playing this, because it's definitely much more difficult than the Switch version. But the difficulty, I think, still felt fair. It didn't feel completely unfair. I think it was a good difficulty. And again, the game just generally was super fun to play. Another really cool thing that they did in the GBA version is the way in which they adapted each of the gym challenges. It was very impressive how they were able to basically recreate all of those physical challenges, more or less, in a GBA format. So you'll literally be doing all the same things that you do in the Switch version, just in a GBA format. So I really couldn't recommend this game enough if that all seems interesting to you. I had a great time playing it, and I beat this and not Pokemon Sword and Shield on the Switch. And I have no regrets about that. This was a great experience. You can see me running around the Isle of Armor, trying to catch the Slowpoke just like you would in the Switch version. It's a lot of fun, but, you know, I had to go back to the main map, which you can see here. It matches up more or less exactly with the Switch version and how it looks. The Great Britain portion of the map. Using my legendary Eternus that I caught, you can see me here comparing the Switch version of Motorstoke to the GBA version, and it looks the exact same. You feel me? This is heading into the gym, all more or less the same vibe. And if you remember or have seen what the gym challenge is for this first gym, then you'll know that, you know, they've recreated it pretty well. Yeah, these stadiums don't look as big and as insane as they do in the Switch version, but you can use your imagination and kind of get the gist. I believe that first game was trying to hunt a certain specific Pokemon, and it was, I think, a Marowak, and it's the exact same in the GBA version as it is in the Switch. But that's not the first gym. I'm trying to do them in the first order, so I had to switch it up and go to Truffield. That's it. Truffield very much feels like Lancaster, where I went university. They did a good job. I think this game was the pushing the balls or something. I can't remember, but this is what I mean when they did a good job adapting the different gym challenges. I really like Milo. I really like Nessa. I really like, honestly, most of the characters in this game, if not all of them. Great designs, and again, really cool Pokemon. And it was a fun challenge, you feel me? You can rematch all the gym leaders, which is what I'm doing. And one of my favorite features in any Pokemon game is being able to go back and give them another challenge. Something I wish more Pokemon games let you do, as a lot of the official ones do not let you rematch gym leaders. In this game, you can rematch gym leaders. You can rematch a bunch of different characters. It's really cool, the multiple rivals thing as well, like Marnie and Bede. I love those two characters. I love that, you know, I wish we saw a lot more of Marnie. We didn't see her that much, but it's cool, her addition to the game. At least in this game, you can go and challenge her and rematch her at any point in Spikemuth. I don't even know if you can do gym rematches in the Switch version. I hope you can. I don't know if you can rematch Marnie though, but in this game, you can go Spikemuth, you can rematch Marnie, or you can rematch her brother Piers, two characters that I thought were sick. Spikemuth is still just a long corridor, even in this game. It's weird, but it's got a cool design. Like, I like Sword and Shield, I really do. I think it was smooth. I think it was a great game. I appreciate it could have had more. And I appreciate that they probably shouldn't have charged for like the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, just because like I think the game maybe could have just had more to it. I feel like it didn't have any real post game, you feel me? Apart from the DLC, which you had to pay extra for. I mean, not in this version, but officially that is kind of lame. So that would kind of take it down a point. If we're talking about the Switch version, I'd say it's a 7. But on this, it's at least an 8, because you get all of that included at no extra cost, if you know what I mean. But no, the game's dope. I really like playing Pokemon games. Minimal story, focusing on a gym challenge, give me strong, powerful Pokemon. And I like Dynamaxing. I think it was really smart considering these are big, televised, stadium, massive events. Turning your Pokemon into a kaiju for 3 turns, I think is epic and really cool. I don't fully understand the difference between Dynamax, Gigantamax, and whatever the hell. This game doesn't actually explain anything. But I don't think the Switch one does either. People were confused about that playing the Switch one too. So that is just a con with the game. They probably could have explained that more. There's a lot they could have explained more. What little story they tried to put in the game was very weak. And it's so lame how they talk about how all the Pokemon are Dynamaxing. It's crazy, but we never see it because they just couldn't animate it. That's pretty lame, and it's no different in this GBA version. I do wish they fixed that. I wish they fixed Wyndon and made it look cooler and more like London. And I wish that they potentially fixed things like the fact that what I just said. Anyway, you can see me kind of struggling a bit with this fight. Oh yeah, I was saying that they could have explained Dynamaxing more, and they could have shown more animations in terms of like when things were going crazy towards the end of the game and there was apparently an apocalypse in Galar. We didn't see any of it in either version. They could have fixed it in the GBA version. It would have been easier than fixing it in the Switch version. It is what it is. I don't know how many Sword and Shield ROM hacks exist, maybe a few, but this, I think, has to be the best one. What the team have managed to accomplish on this game, I think is absolutely incredible. I don't even know how they did it. How did they recreate a whole 3D Switch region on a GBA format? Can they do it again, or can someone else do this? Because I would love for a GBA version of Kalos. I have zero interest in playing the 3D version of Kalos, but I'd play a GBA version. Can someone do that? Surely that would be a very doable thing, you know? Same with maybe Sun and Moon. Can someone create a Lola but on a GBA? They've done it with Sword and Shield, so I don't see why not. Now Paldea I think would be difficult given its open world nature and the fact it doesn't use traditional routes. It's the first game not to. I still think it's doable, but it'd be maybe a lot less faithful. But I think you could do a faithful Kalos, Alola recreation on a GBA. Univer's already been done, but not on the GBA to my knowledge. It's been done on the Game Boy Crystal, which is another game I talk about. So this isn't the first demake. This is a demake, you know, not a remake, but a demake. There's a Univer demake on the Game Boy. I believe it's the Game Boy Color, sorry. And this is a Switch demake all the way down to the GBA, you know. But again, the game does give some DS vibes. Yeah, look, man, I'm not trash at Pokemon, and you can see I'm kind of struggling a bit with these rematches. You know, it's not easy, but it's fun. It's definitely fun. So if we're talking characters in the game, I will admit that the Rose guy is not very much compelling. Neither is his woman assistant person, you know. But I love Leon. I think Hop was kind of depressing with just how sad he was that he sucked at battling, but I liked his story, you know. Like I felt for him. I did feel for him, you know. But Leon was sick. I really liked how throughout the story there were moments where the adult characters were like, don't worry kid, we're gonna be the ones to solve this. Like Leon, he'd go save the day sometimes, not us. I like that. Why are we always the main character? I like that Leon and maybe even Hop felt like the main character. It was almost like our protagonist was the rival instead of Hop being the rival. And I like that. It was like a cool twist. Because Hop came across more like some kind of chosen one.
You got 2 X special attacks. There's a lot of people just hanging out.
Him. I know we're still the one that saves the day as the main character, but I don't know. It didn't feel as intrusive as in previous games in this game, and I like the way that it was handled. Character-wise, I like Leon. I like the trainee professor woman whose name does escape me. You know, I like Hop. I liked Bede. I liked Marnie. I like Piers. I like Milo. I like Nessa. I know, just like in most Pokemon games, we don't really get much from the gym leaders, so we kind of have to just go off their designs and their Pokemon and what little dialogue we get. I like the fighting type gym leader. She had a really cool design. I like Alistair. He had a great design. I feel like I'm naming all of them. Melody. And the fact I remember so many of these characters' names is a testament to like how memorable and cool I do think a lot of them are. especially since I did play the game or beat the game not too long ago, you know. But now that I've completed Kanto, Johto, Galar and Sinnoh, if I had to rank them, I'd say Sinnoh is my favorite region, followed by Kanto, then Galar, and then Johto. I do think Kanto, with its Silphco and Lavender Town and just its story, was definitely better than Sword and Shield's story. I gotta give it to Kanto. Then Sinnoh did all those things better, and Johto is just not my favorite region, you know. But Galar, I did really enjoy it, for sure. Had a great time with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it be remade one day, whether it's through a Legends game or something similar. That would be very cool. I can't stress enough that it must have taken the team who made this game an extremely long time. Recreating an entire region on a completely different console, and much older console at that, must have been incredibly difficult, and I give the team loads of praise for doing this. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to play through Sword and Shield yet, and I'd be very sad. But thanks to them, I have this amazing version of the game, which in some ways I do think is better than its Switch counterpart. For one, if you don't like 3D Pokemon and you prefer the sprites and you think that the 3D models are lifeless, this is the game for you. You got yourself some great, amazing looking 2D sprites, and you still get all the new Pokemon. Maybe you're just not financially in a situation to get the full Switch game, or you know what to do. Whilst I can't tell you where to get this game, Google is your best friend. You can figure it out. And it's really good. Also, I haven't maybe mentioned, but this game, it's a fusion of both Sword and Shield. So it kind of almost functions like an enhanced version, because it has everything that Sword and Shield has, but together in one game. All the gym leaders that are exclusive, because if you don't know, in Pokemon Sword and Shield, some of the gym leaders are exclusive to Shield and some are exclusive to Sword. This game has both, so you can just choose which gym leader you want to fight, and nothing's preventing you from going ahead and challenging the other one. So you actually have more potential gym badges you can get in this one game, which is a huge W compared to the Switch version, where no matter which version of the game you play, you're sacrificing a gym leader or two that you can't ever challenge because they're locked to the other version of the game. But the GBA version has all possibilities, all Pokemon and all gym leader fights to choose from. For many, myself included, that could be a huge W, not having to choose between Alistair and I think her name is Bay, the fighting type gym leader. You can challenge both, which is very cool. I understand why we didn't get enhanced versions of Sword and Shield. I understand why we won't get enhanced versions probably ever again. But admittedly, they were cool. And I'm gonna miss them, can't lie. We'll never get Pokemon Gun. We could have, but we'll never get it. In all seriousness though, they did an amazing job with this game. They really did. I think it really feels like it could be an official, real Pokemon game. And especially since this game feels a lot more reminiscent to Pokemon Diamond and Pearl in terms of the way it looks, you know? It really is my dream come true from playing Pokemon Diamond and wishing I could be doing this but going through my hometown. That dream, fully, that vision has come true, since this game looks a lot more like Diamond and Pearl than, you know, the Switch Sword and Shield does. Now, you can emulate the Switch Sword and Shield most likely on a lot of devices, but you can't easily do it on, say, an iPhone, but you can easily emulate this game on an iPhone. So that could be another reason why this version is just better, more accessible, you know? I definitely think that is a big thing in this game's favor. Look how beautiful my gym badges look, but look how poor I am. Only 16.5k despite how much I've played this game. But we're in Stowe inside, and you can climb up the ladders onto the roof just like in the Switch version of the game. Can't stress enough. We go to Ballanley, you can see how cool it looks. You got the colourful mushrooms, you got the Glimwood Tangle, you got everything from the Switch version of the game, and it looks cool. They've done a good job adapting a lot of stuff. Does it look as spectacular as the 3D version? I truly think graphics are subjective, so that really just depends on you. Me personally, I think this game looks great as it is, and I have no real complaints. You can do obviously save states and fast forward and all the stuff you can expect from a standard emulation of a game. And for many, those could be winning factors to wanting to play this game. Look how cool that Rapidash looks. You know, that's what I mean when I say this game did have really cool Pokemon. And I think really cool character designs. I've already listed pretty much every character in this game as being a character who, at the very least visually, I really like what they were going for. Nessa's name coming from the Loch Ness Monster is really cool, man. It's really cool. They do their research. They do their research, you know. You've got Stonehenge in this game. You've got a lot of UK landmarks and stuff. I don't think the game adapts Wales that much, but someone can let me know if they disagree. And I also don't think the game adapts Ireland at all. So those could be places that we potentially see in the Pokemon world one day. I doubt it, but maybe one day. Or maybe if you're Irish and Welsh, you can tell me if you feel like this game did also represent you and how. Because just looking at the map, I don't see where Wales and Ireland, you know, correlate. I'm thinking of doing a video series comparing the regions to the real life regions that they're based on. So comparing Galar to Great Britain, because if you look at the maps of the regions versus the real countries they're based on, they look the same. You can literally compare map to map, real life in the Pokemon world. And I don't know that there's that many people looking into this. I think it's an interesting topic. I think I have some cool video ideas, so I might do that. And if you've enjoyed this video, you should definitely give it a thumbs up. You know what I mean? Subscribe to the channel. Got more stuff coming soon. I'm playing through all the different Pokemon regions, and whilst I am trying to play them in order, this game was just so fun that I had to complete it. Technically, I've done Kanto, I've done Johto, and now I'm on Hoenn, but I skipped ahead to Galar and completed this early just because I think I actually beat this game first in my replays, just because of how fun it was and how hard it was to turn off once I started. Unfortunately, don't know the name off the top of my head of the people who've made this game, but shout out them. They have done an incredible job. I'll try find their name and put it in the description because they didn't at least deserve a big thank you and maybe a follow and all of that, because this is incredible. This has to be one of the coolest ROM hacks I've ever played, and I've played many of them. This is easily top 3 for me favorite ROM hacks, up there with Crystal Clear and probably Unbound, maybe Radical Red, I don't know. I'll do probably a tier list of ROM hacks too. I've played a lot of great ones, but this is one of them for sure. It's a really cool concept, and I hope to see more. I don't know if they're working on any more, but my personal vote would be they should do this exact same thing, but for the Alola games. But I do think that they should attempt to try and fix any potential issues with the Alola games, like general things people don't like, maybe skippable cutscenes, I don't know. I think this game is very faithful to Sword and Shield on the Switch, to the point where it also incorporates any issues that those games had apart from graphics. This game also has. There was nothing stopping them from maybe adding some dialogue or scenes, but I can appreciate they probably didn't want to do that because they wanted this game to be truly faithful to the Switch game that it's based on, which I can appreciate. And let's talk about Dynamaxing. I'm fine with the way that Dynamaxing is presented in this game. You see the sprite get bigger than small, but some people say that it doesn't really sell the idea that these sprites are giant, and you see that moment where the sprite goes so big that you can only see his feet on the screen. Some argue that that's how the sprites should stay whenever they're Dynamaxed, so that visually on the screen all we see is their feet, and we know that they're so big that they're literally going off screen. That does feed into your imagination, but some of these Pokemon have those Dynamaxed epic forms that we would not be able to see if we could only see their feet to emphasize how big they are. So being consistent and having them be red and go big for a moment, and we have to use our imagination to know they're big. I know it's not ideal, but at least it lets us see Pokemon who have their Dynamax forms, which in this game they'll have really cool 2D sprites for. I wouldn't want to miss that. There could have maybe been a balance where they show for some portions of the, like maybe when you're not attacking they show the full sprite, and then when you're attacking you just see the foot. I don't know. I think they did it fine though. I respect the creative decision, and you kind of just have to know in your head that when Pokemon Dynamax they go massive. This is a GBA game. There's only so much they can do, you feel me? But right now, I've been going through challenging everyone, seeing who wants to dethrone me as a champion of Galar, if there's anyone who wants to smoke. I've been able to defeat the champion Leon, as you've seen. I went up against Milo again, beat him. Nessa, I couldn't beat, I don't think. Not for the second time. But I was able to beat Bede just now, and anyone else who wants to smoke. I think I'm going to head to Spikemuth now. My favorite town in this GBA version of the game. In the Switch game, it would be Wyndon. I'm biased. And if not Wyndon, then
I don't know, maybe Stolen Side of Africa had a pretty cool design. Don't really know where in the UK it looks like that, but that was pretty cool. I really like Motorstoke and Hammerlock, to be honest. But yeah, Winden probably. And in the GBA version, not Winden, because the Winden was kind of weak. I'd probably have to give it to Hammerlock, or yeah, probably Hammerlock. That's like the bigger city in this game. Pretty sure the Hammerlock in this game is bigger than the Winden, which is weird. But anyway, you can use the flying taxi thing to, the Corviknights. I mean, in this game, it's visually different. You just have fly basically from any of them, from any town to any town. But this is what it looks like. I can rematch Piers or go behind him and rematch Marnie, which is what I decided to do. Big fan of Marnie's character. Team Yell absolutely sucked. I get that they were meant to represent football hooligans, but they were just doing too much for too little. It's kind of stupid. But I don't think they were in the game that much. You feel me? I think Eternatus is a very, very cool legendary, I have to admit. I wasn't the biggest fan of Zacian and Zazamenta's designs, but Eternatus has a really cool design, and whenever he goes Dynamax, Gigantamax, whatever it was, I like that he turns into the Master Hand. How do I unlock that form? Can I not make him turn into a solar system? All that stuff looked really cool. I forget what it was called, but Eternatus has some really cool forms. Even the space form I get to fight with. Really cool Pokemon, great design. But the Master Hand solar system, biggest legendary ever, was really, really cool stuff. I do wish I knew what its lore was. I've played this game and I've left the game having no clue what the lore to that Pokemon is supposed to be. Nevertheless, looks cool. Had a lot of fun using it. You feel me? Looking forward to learning more about Galar and this Pokemon in the future. What even is Dynamax and Gigantamax? Why does it work? I don't know. But like I said before, I was a fan of the mechanic. I haven't used much Mega Evolution, so I can't comment, and I've never really used Z moves. But Dynamax being sort of the first gimmick of a Pokemon game I've gotten into, I liked it. I found it to be very fun and very cool. Especially the Pokemon who got new design forms, like I think it's Machamp, got a sick new form, Charizard. It's really cool, man. People hate on Charizard because it gets so much love, but I love Charizard and I'm contributing to it getting much love. As you can see, Leon gave me a Charmander. I named it after him and it's evolving nicely. He gave it to me after I beat him. He does that in the official Switch game too. But yeah, if you want to Nuzlocke this game, make it extra hard, go for it. But I do think the difficulty is pretty challenging enough as it is, but beatable for sure. As you can see on the rematch of Marnie, I am absolutely struggling, not really going in my favor. So it just goes to show that there's still more to do in this game. I have stronger to become. I still need to beat the Isle of Armor DLC and the Crown Tundra DLC. I think some people say the Crown Tundra DLC is like the best part of the whole game. So that could honestly boost my score, but I already think this is a great game. And I'm going to continue to play it and beat the post game, but I did want to just stop and make a video of my thoughts as they are. Big fan of Galar, big fan of this specific ROM hack. Shout out the team. But I did watch a Sword and Shield playthrough of the Switch version of the game, and I do also think that looked to be a really, really great game. I mean, this is functionally the exact same game regardless. So, 8 out of 10. Great time. Shout out Pokemon Sword and Shield. I personally lean more towards Pokemon Sword, just the kind of guy I am, even though it's the blue game. We lit.